Right guys, hi, welcome to this week's episode of Media Mondays. We're actually out on location here in the Peak District with this lovely Land Rover Defender, and I'm about to show you the difference a circular polarizing filter makes on photo shoots. A circular polarizer can make such a huge difference to your photography. It removes reflections, glare, and it can intensify your colours, which improves your contrast on all your photos. Right guys, as you can see, I've just jumped into Lightroom. I've just taken a few photos just to emphasise the difference when using a circular polarizer to not using one. It's just a little bit out of focus, this shot, but it's just to show you the actual differences. There's a few things we have to remember when using a circular polarizer. You have to remember that they do tend to work best when you're working at a 90-degree angle from the sun. So it means really you should never ever try to use a polarizer when facing directly towards the sun. Another reason to take the filter off for shots when you include the sun is that the extra glass that's in front of your lens can cause more flaring. So we've got our light source is up here in the corner and it's 90 degrees to the car. So this is when a polarizer tends to work best, which is what you'll see. So this is the image without a polarizer, and this is the image with a polarizer. So there's a very, very marked difference in reflections on the car. So it brings out a lot more detail. When you're doing shots that are close up, a circular polarizer tends to work very well because you can actually see through the glass into the car. So if you're at shows or you're photographing quite an expensive car, they don't want to have the windows down, a polarizer works really well because it cuts the glare out of the glass and it allows you to see straight through into the front of the car. So it is quite a marked difference between the two. As you can see, these reflections coming off the light source and the trees, and then this shot there with absolutely nothing. So sometimes it doesn't always work as well as what you want it to work. I am not a huge fan of this. There is a bit of there's a sort of in-between sort of level. So that's with no polarizer, that's with a polarizer, and then you can actually spin the polarizer so it's sort of half on. So I prefer this sort of shot. It adds a bit more character to the actual car and looks a lot less flat. So see just the difference between the first shot and that shot. This reflection area here is massively reduced. I just prefer it. Sometimes this just looks a bit artificial. Yeah, it's personal preference, but that just shows you the actual depth to which a circular polarizer will cut out reflections on cars, especially when used correctly. I see a lot of photos where people who clearly used a polarizer, but they are shooting into the sun or the light source isn't the right angle to the car, so the polarizer doesn't tend to work really. Not in comparison to these sort of shots I've got here. So that's it for this week's Media Monday. If you want to come back next week, if you could drop me a like, a comment, if you could subscribe to my channel, that would be absolutely amazing. It all helps, and I do think a lot of all of you who subscribed. Thanks very much. See you next week.